Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to break down this really powerful financial story from the book, The Parable of the Pipeline. And honestly, it could completely flip the script on how you think about your income and your whole future.
So let's just jump right in with a big question, one that really gets to the core of how most of us make a living. I want you to think about your job right now. Is your paycheck, directly tied to the actual hours you work?
Look, for most of us, the answer is a big yes. And that, my friends, is what we call the bucket-carrying world. You work an hour, you get paid for an hour. Simple as that. But here's the thing. It's not the only way. And today we're going to explore a totally different path.
To really get our heads around this, let's dive into a simple story. It's about two ambitious cousins, Pablo and Bruno, living in a small Italian village a long time ago.
So they both land the exact same job, right? Same opportunity, carry buckets of water, earn a living, but how they reacted? Totally different. Bruno thought he'd hit the jackpot. This was his dream come true. Pablo, though, man, he just felt his back aching and thought, there's got to be a better way than this.
Bruno, he was all about the here and now, the short-term reward. $1 a day? He thought he was rich. He's already planning on buying a cow, building a new hut. In his mind, he was set for life. So when Pablo started talking about building a pipeline, Bruno just laughed it off. He thought it was completely nuts. But Pablo saw the bigger picture. He had this mantra, this understanding that a little short-term pain, sacrificing his evenings, his weekends, would lead to this huge long-term gain. He was playing the long game.
And the difference in their lives was just stark. You had Bruno living it up, enjoying his new income right away, showing off everything he bought. And then you had Pablo, who was just pouring his sweat and energy into this long-term project with zero instant payoff, just digging through that tough, rocky soil day in and day out.
And then, boom, the pipeline was done. This is the turning point, right? Pablo's hard work didn't just get him a paycheck, it created an asset, a system that worked for him. The water flowed 24/7 while he ate, while he slept, while he played, and the best part? The more water flowing to the village, the more money flowed right into his pockets.
Okay, so what does this little story actually teach us about our own lives, our own finances? Let's really dig into the core problem here, the trap that Bruno and honestly so many of us fall into.
This is basically the blueprint for most jobs out there, right? Doesn't matter if you're a cook, a mail carrier, or even a high-powered lawyer. You're trading a piece of your time for a piece of money. But there's a huge critical flaw baked right into that system.
And here it is, the brutal, simple truth. This is the core vulnerability of trading your time for money. Just think about it for a second. If Bruno woke up sick one morning and couldn't get out of bed, how much money would he make that day? A big, fat zero. No work equals no money. Period. And listen, this isn't just some abstract idea from a parable. I mean, take this real-world example. A dentist earning over $100,000 a year. She had what you call a bucket carrier's dream job, right? Only working 3 days a week. But then she developed arthritis and couldn't use her hands anymore. And just like that, poof, her income vanished overnight. It just goes to show you no bucket-carrying job is ever truly 100% secure.
Okay, so the obvious question is, well, what if I just get a bigger bucket? A higher paying job. That's got to solve the problem, right? Well, maybe not.
At first glance, the solution seems totally obvious. Of course, a physician earns way more than a fast food cook. And it's easy to think, man, if I just made that kind of money, all my problems would be solved. I'd be financially free. But it's just not that simple. Here's the trap. It's called lifestyle creep. As your income goes up, your expenses almost always follow right behind it. The average worker, maybe they have a used car, a modest home, but the high-earning doctor, now they've got a Lexus, a much bigger house, private school tuition. See what's happening? They're still stuck in that same paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. It's just a much more expensive one. So this is the key takeaway, the bottom line. A bigger bucket is still just a bucket. A much larger income doesn't automatically create financial freedom if you haven't changed the fundamental problem. You're still trading your time for money. And if you stop working, the money stops flowing. And this right here, this is the huge mental shift we have to make. True wealth is not the same thing as a high income. As the authors of The Millionaire Next Door famously said, it's not about what you spend, it's about what you accumulate. It's about how much you keep and, crucially, how much you put to work for you.
Okay, so if bigger buckets aren't the answer, then what is? Well, that brings us back to Pablo's idea.
the pipeline. This is the path to real, genuine, lasting security.
So what is a pipeline, really? It's an asset. It's a system you build that generates ongoing what they call residual income. Think about that. You do the hard work once, you build the thing, and then it pays you over and over and over again. It completely shatters that time for money trap.
And that's why we call pipelines lifelines, because unlike a job, a pipeline is a true safety net. It's what protects you and your family when life throws you a curveball, and it always does, right? It's an income source that does not depend on you physically showing up to work every single day.
All right, so all of this brings us to a really important moment. A moment for some honest self-reflection. It kind of forces us to look in the mirror at our own financial plans and ask some pretty tough questions.
The crazy thing is, we live in a world where something like 99% of people are following the bucket-carrying model. And you have to ask, why? Well, it's because it's all we see. It's what our parents did, it's what our friends do. We just assume it's the only way to do things. Just like Bruno did. So, in the end, it really all comes down to you. The choice is yours. Are you content to just keep carrying buckets, maybe bigger and bigger buckets, for the rest of your life? Or are you willing to put in the hard work now to build a pipeline? Something that can provide for you tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that? Just understanding that there is a choice, that's the first and most important step of all.